I'm Casey Claiborne, and thanks for watching this CrimeWatch YouTube exclusive, where we take a look back at recent crime stories that have been making headlines in our area and across the state. Court documents are shedding new light on the motive behind the double murder of a former Williamson County judge and his wife. Investigators say Seth Carnes shot his mother because he thought she was trying to force him to take a sleeping pill, and he was just looking for a reason to shoot his father. Fox 7 Austin's Rudy Koski with a reaction from a shocked community.
Williamson County deputies were called shortly before midnight Monday to the home of retired Judge Bert Carnes in the Wahlberg community. Sources tell Fox 7 his granddaughter called 911 saying her dad, Seth Carnes, shot her grandfather. That was followed by another call from Seth Carnes himself. When deputies arrived, the bodies of Judge Carnes and his wife Susan were found.
It's totally a blindside.
Hearing this news this morning was just very gut-wrenching.
Word of the double murder quickly spread throughout the small community. The Carnes were familiar faces at the McCann Motor Company and feed store.
They came in, they would help anyone out that they could. And they just, were people that wanted to live the life here, live a country life, and Bert and Susan would help you out if they needed to, and I'm just going to miss them a lot.
The Carnes' bodies were removed from their home around noon Tuesday. Investigators were also seen leaving the house with evidence bags and what appeared to be a rifle. Seth Carnes was taken to the Williamson County Jail. He's charged with a capital murder of multiple persons. Before he retired, Judge Carnes presided over several high-profile cases here in Williamson County. One of the most notable cases was the trial of Mark Norwood. He murdered Christine Morton. Judge Carnes handled the trial, which was based on DNA evidence that exonerated Morton's husband.
I could see him as a judge just being a really honorable. I heard that he was a strict judge, which naturally Williamson County would have been that way. But just meeting him as a man, you knew his honesty and integrity. And again, it's just such a shock.
A portrait of Judge Carnes is in the courtroom where he spent nearly a quarter century on the bench. Near the jury box, there's also a plaque on the wall that notes how Judge Carnes held the first jury trial in the county's Justice Center. He was first appointed to the 368th District Court by then-Governor Bill Clements and won re-election 6 times. In Georgetown, Rudy Koski, Fox 7 Austin News.
Responsible for a deadly shooting in North Austin. It happened at the Avalon Palm Apartments on Northgate Boulevard in Runberg. Police got the call around 8 o'clock on January 8th. When they got there, officers found 21-year-old Francisco Miranda with a gunshot wound. Medics rushed Miranda to a hospital where he later died. If you have any information, you're urged to call Austin Police. We're learning new details on why a fight outside a North Austin game room escalated into a deadly shooting. 2 men were killed and a woman was injured. Fox 7 Austin's Tan Radford has the latest.
According to Austin police, around 4:46 Sunday morning, officers were called to the shooting at the Cowboys game room on Parkfield Drive, where the victim, 35-year-old DeAndre Flint, and suspect, 46-year-old Jamie Davis, were found with gunshot wounds.
We just got information that there are multiple people arguing.
Investigators say Davis and his girlfriend were asked to leave. Security followed them outside, and the girlfriend and a female employee of the game room were involved in a fight. It escalated into a shooting between Davis and security for the club, which led to Davis shooting the victim, DeAndre Flint. Davis was shot by another security employee who is cooperating with police.
Officers immediately began life-saving measures until EMS personnel arrived on scene. However, unfortunately, both males were pronounced deceased on the scene.
A neighboring business owner says the incident was caught on his security camera.
I was going like, wow, this actually happened. And I just thought, first thing was like, what was it? Pointless and senseless.
The footage shows people running for cover, police arriving, and the moments after the shooting.
I did talk to the people, the folks across the street in the morning, and many of them were upset, crying. And I did meet a lady that said she was the fiance of one of the individuals that got shot. And my heart goes out with those people, goes out to those folks. And it's senseless. It's ridiculous, senseless to take a life.
This is an ongoing investigation. No charges were filed or expected to be filed at this time. Meanwhile, a teenager is fighting for their life after being attacked with a machete near Austin's Auditorium Shores. The suspect is behind bars. Fox 7 Austin's Meredith Aldis has that story.
It surprises me, and at the same time, it doesn't.
The Austin Police Association president says a teenager was randomly and violently attacked by a, quote, machete-wielding maniac.
At the stem of it, it's probably someone who was on drugs and doesn't really have that, capacity.
The assault happened at around 10 Tuesday morning, broad daylight, by Auditorium Shores, usually busy with runners and people walking their dogs.
Hundreds easily.
Austin police say the victim was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. The union president says the teen is permanently disfigured.
And that just says cowardice, that doesn't say that you're a strong person at all. If you need to turn to a weapon, the other person most likely doesn't have one, it's ridiculous.
Norsworthy says a man came at him with a knife near Auditorium Shores about a week ago.
He was just holding it like that, so straight up this way.
But Norsworthy says he trains martial arts.
So I'm like, okay, I'm just, keeping my distance and everything. I'm moving around a little bit because he's coming at me with it.
But he was able to get away. He says he now carries pepper spray. All not a good look or warm welcome for first-time visitors of Austin.
It's definitely pretty nuts to hear.
It's crazy, but stuff like that happens, I guess.
Now to a sad update to a story Fox 7 Austin recently told you about. A 14-year-old girl who was seriously hurt in a North Austin hit and run has died. Tragically, her loss is just one of many that have torn apart Central Texas families in the past year. Tracer Carter's family says on December 30th, she was hit by a driver while on her scooter on Farm Haven Road near Palmer Lane and Harris Branch Parkway. Police found her with life-threatening injuries, and she died days later at the hospital. 2 days later, another death on the roads. Police say on New Year's Day around 6 in the morning, an SUV hit a pedestrian on I-35 near 290. The victim died and hasn't been identified. The driver stayed at the scene and cooperated. That was the first fatal crash of 2024. APD says there were 93 traffic deaths in 2023. In 2022, there were 121.
It would just, ease our hearts to know that you would come forward and take responsibility for what you did, because you hit a baby. She still has her whole life ahead of her.
In Tracer's case, APD's vehicular homicide unit is investigating. A father is fighting to keep the man who killed his daughter in prison. 15 years ago, Amanda Brown's boyfriend fatally shot her in Southwest Austin. Fox 7 Austin's Meredith Aldis has the details.
Hey Dad, it's me, Amanda. I just wanted to talk to you and see how you're doing. And just say hi, but I'll try to call you again some other time, okay?
That's her voice. I have that saved. I'm so lucky to have her voice.
Amanda Brown was adopted out of San Marcos. She was born with a heart murmur, had 3 open heart surgeries by the time she turned 3.5.
The Lord didn't choose to take her then, and He allowed her to thrive. And so she was a survivor from birth.
But at just 18 years old, her life was taken.
It's like, no, this can't be true. You can't be telling me the truth. This can't be true.
In April 2008, Lynn Brown says his daughter was in an abusive relationship, had plans to get away, saved money, packed her things, but
she discovered that the money that she had saved to pay for the bus and for her to leave Austin, he had found it and he had taken it.
And when she confronted him about it,
he put the barrel of the gun up to the right side of her head and pulled the trigger.
My son says he shot his girlfriend by accident.
He killed her.
19-year-old Brian Morris pleaded guilty to murder in exchange for a 20-year prison sentence.
This was just cold-blooded murder.
In 2018, Morris was eligible for parole, so Brown went before the parole board.
It perpetuates the victimization of the families that are at their most vulnerable.
But Brown says he had to do it, and he pleaded to keep Morris behind bars.
You want them to like your loved one. You want them to know that they're not a statistic, that they were a real living, breathing human being, but that they deserve justice. You come away from there feeling like you just had to beg. You had to beg them to just do the right thing.
His efforts successful. Parole was denied. Just last year, Brown went back to Huntsville to do it all over again. Parole was denied once again, and Brown will go back later this year.
I'll go back a third time and a fourth time and a fifth time if I have to. But I will continue to fight for my daughter's honor and integrity.
And send a message to those who may be a victim of domestic violence.
A lot of people say, well, I am stuck in this relationship. I'm stuck in this situation, and you are not. There are agencies out there that can help you. There are ways, there are people that are there that can help you escape that abuse. You can break that cycle. Don't keep saying, if I can only fix him.
The year Amanda Brown was killed, statistics show 136 women were killed by an intimate partner. The number is rising. In 2022, 179 women were killed.
If I lived in a perfect world and say that this would never, ever happen again, it's almost a pipe dream, because I know that it will. And that's the sad fact about it.
And Brown says his daughter has missed out on so many things because of it.
Her possibly getting married or not getting married. Her having children of her own or choosing to adopt, just as she was. But she wasn't given that opportunity.
Meredith Aldis, Fox 7 Austin, CrimeWatch.
If you or someone you know is in an abusive relationship, you can visit safeaustin.org or text them at this number, 737-888-7233. Help is available at both of those resources 24/7. A man in North Texas has been arrested for his role in the death of a high school cheerleader. Jacksboro police arrested 23-year-old Sebastian Lindsay on Monday and charged him with manslaughter. In December of 2023, police say Lindsay threw gasoline on an open flame, badly burning 17-year-old Madison Lewis. Lewis's hair and clothing caught fire, leaving her with burns on 90% of her body. Despite several surgeries, Lewis died at a hospital on Sunday. Police say those at the party chose to drive her to the hospital instead of calling 911 because they were worried they would get in trouble for underage drinking. Lindsay is being held without bond. Austin police are searching for 3 armed men accused of at least 2 robberies on New Year's Eve. Police say in the span of about 9 hours, the suspects robbed 2 stores and shot at a car in North Austin. Fox 7 Austin's Angela Shin spoke with a woman who was in that car. She and her family are physically okay, but they're shaken up.
It was scared. I'm a mom of 7 kids, so that moment, if I got killed, I think like who's gonna stay with the rest of my kids.
Austin police are searching for 3 suspects they say were involved in 2 aggravated robberies and an aggravated assault on New Year's Eve in North Austin. Police say the suspects threatened the clerks at Whataburger at I-35 and Breaker around 1 a.m. and La Buena Market on North Lamar around 10:30 a.m. and left with cash, cigarettes, and other merchandise. Itsuvi Vizuet used to work by La Buena Market.
Scary for sure, because I've never seen nothing crazy like that happen before.
After the second robbery scene, the suspects fired at a car about 5 minutes from La Buena Market on I-35 near Rundberg. Laura Pimentel was in the car with her husband and her 11 and 12-year-old sons going to get a haircut. She says at first it looked like the suspect car was going to hit them and the suspects were trying to get in front of them.
We keep going. He went to the other side, take the gun out and start shooting our car.
She says 4 bullets hit the car.
I was with my kids and I started just crying and screaming like they're shooting us because I was like, it never happened to us before.
The suspect car is described as an older model black 4-door Honda Civic with tinted windows and appears to have a Nevada license plate. Police say the first suspect was last seen wearing an orange shirt and vest, armed with a semi-automatic pistol. The second suspect was last seen wearing an orange hoodie armed with a black shotgun, and a third one was wearing a black jacket and armed with a semi-automatic rifle. Police describe all three as Spanish speakers.
I don't feel safe anymore to go out.
Pimentel wants the suspects to be caught soon.
We don't want this happen to other families or somebody else.
And if you have any information about that case, call police or Crime Stoppers. A reward of up to $1,000 may be available for information that leads to an arrest. Jury selection is underway in the trial for a man accused of killing a San Marcos police officer back in 2017. This comes after a mishap with jury summonses that ended up having to be hand-delivered to residents. Fox 7 Austin's Mayor Thaldis has more on what happened there.
Sometimes technology isn't very reliable.
A prime example, when jury summons weren't printed or mailed out.
We figured it out when our juries didn't show up.
Hayes County District Clerk Avery Anderson says it was because of an error by the vendor they use. So county constables hand-delivered thousands of jury notices to residents.
We made measures to convert juries that actually did get summoned to be able to go for the capital murder trial.
Their efforts successful, as about 400 people showed up for jury selection in the trial for the deadly shooting of San Marcos police officer Kenneth Copeland. On December 4th, 2017, a group of officers, including Officer Copeland, serving a warrant at 51-year-old Stuart Metz's home for assault causing bodily injury of a family member and injury to an elderly person.
Well, he was in the military when he got a lot of mental problems.
When the officers knocked on the door, Metz allegedly opened it and began shooting, hitting Copeland multiple times. Metz later surrendered.
I'm so sorry this officer had to die. It breaks my heart. I wish it never happened.
Copeland was the first officer killed in the line of duty for the San Marcos Police Department.
He was an amazing officer who served his community well with joy and laughter.
He was a 19-year veteran of the department.
Miss Ken very, very much. There's not a day that goes by.
He's always going to be remembered. He's a wonderful person, wonderful friend, and he was an amazing father, from what I hear. And we're never going to forget you.
Metz is facing life in prison without the possibility of parole. The state waived the death penalty. The man accused of holding a woman captive for years in a South Houston home is now out of jail on bond. Fox's Damali Keith has an update.
What investigators say happened in this house sounds like something straight from a horror movie. Lee Carter was allegedly holding a 32-year-old woman captive for years, repeatedly sexually assaulting her and forcing her to take drugs to prevent her from escaping. However, Carter's attorney says that isn't true, saying the two were in a romantic, consensual relationship.
In fact, the complainant and my client have a 3-year-old son together.
George Powell says the two were raising the 3-year-old together. According to court records, the woman met Carter when she was pregnant and panhandling, and he offered to help. Instead, she says he locked her in his garage for 4 to 5 years, only feeding her chips and snacks, and she was found weighing just 70 pounds.
The complaining witness has well-documented mental health issues and history.
In court documents, the alleged victim says she used Carter's laptop to text 911 several times and as a result was taken by police to the hospital more than once. She says each time Carter picked her up and locked her up again.
I don't know how that would have been possible that my client would have been able to have access to her if that were the case. So, like I said, there is a documented lengthy history of mental health issues, and those providers know my client is her caretaker.
Court documents show the DA's office has subpoenaed records from the hospital and from the fire department, which would have transported the woman. The Houston Fire Department tells Fox 26 from that address since 2021, there have been 4 EMS calls and 1 assist for a citizen.
Where the complaining witness has already been to my office to provide an affidavit denying these allegations, as well as other witnesses who they both know, both the complainant and my client. And their versions of the facts are far different from that of the state.
Powell says he expects the charges will be dropped against Carter, who's also a local rapper known as Viper. Damali Keith, Fox 26 News.
And finally, the teamwork of several law enforcement officials has solved a nearly 2 decades old cold case out of Mills County. 41-year-old Jesse Rodriguez was sentenced to 20 years in prison for attempted aggravated assault. Investigators say the break in this case is all thanks to new DNA technology. The Mills County Sheriff told Fox 7 Austin's Amanda Ruiz the case has been sitting heavy on the county for all these years, and it's just a great coincidence that Fox 7 Austin had the chance to speak with him on this break on Law Enforcement Appreciation Day.
In 2005, a 21-year-old woman was awoken by a man holding a knife to her throat, attempting to sexually assault her. Mills County Sheriff Anthony Poole says it was a case that left the entire county shaken up.
It doesn't happen at all, really, in this county.
He says after a brief altercation, the suspect fled the scene, but he did leave behind one thing, a single drop of his blood. It was a key piece of evidence collected by the Mills County Sheriff's Office, but without the proper technology, investigators weren't able to do much except upload it to the combined DNA index system, only getting the lead that the suspect was a man. The case then went cold for almost 2 decades.
To have something like this happen, it shocked all the residents of the county. And, to have it just sit there for almost 20 years, just having evidence sit here, it was a frustrating thing for everybody involved.
Sheriff Poole says the Texas Rangers met with the office in 2021 and did a familial DNA search on the drop of blood. This technology was made possible by the Sexual Assault Kit Initiative, a federal grant for advanced DNA testing.
They actually came back with a familial hit on it.
Sheriff Poole says the former sheriff and lead investigator Clint Hammonds was able to test a pair of gloves and get an exact match. That match, 41-year-old Jesse Rodriguez.
He confessed immediately, right off the bat, and said he was glad that he finally got caught because it had been weighing on him for the last 18 years.
Rodriguez was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Sheriff Poole says this is a huge win for the county. The Texas Rangers released a statement saying this couldn't have been done without the help of DPS crime forensic scientists in Waco, Garland, and Austin.
It just makes you proud to help the public and serve your communities.
The major break in the cold case announced by the Rangers just 1 day shy of Law Enforcement Appreciation Day.
But we owe them at least this day to think of them, send them positive thoughts and good wishes.
Charlie Wilkinson, the executive director of the Combined Law Enforcement Associations of Texas, or CLEAT, says every day should be Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. But because it's not, it's important to thank them for all they do to make sure the public is safe.
To recognize someone is to thank them for their service, to be polite to them as they are to you, and that's the only thing they would ever expect.
The sheriff says the victim in that case has moved on with her life since that traumatic experience, but she's glad to finally have the suspect found and convicted. Thanks for watching the Fox 7 Austin Crime Watch YouTube exclusive. Our Crime Watch stories run each Monday on Fox 7 Austin News at 9. If you missed them, you can watch anytime on our new Fox Local Connected TV app. It's free to download, and you can watch on Roku, Android TV, Apple TV, Fire TV, and now Vizio and Samsung. For more on the stories highlighted in this episode, you can head to our website, fox7austin.com, and don't forget to subscribe to the Fox 7 Austin YouTube channel.